The way we begin our morning often decides the course of the entire day. There were mornings when, the very moment I opened my eyes, I grabbed my phone, scrolling through emails, messages, and noisy news feeds. Within minutes, my mind was already restless, tense, overwhelmed. And on those days, it felt as though the whole day no longer belonged to me. But the Stoics lived differently. They began each day with awareness, with preparation of the mind. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in Meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I will meet busybodies, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, and the unsocial. But I will not be surprised or angry with them, for we are born to work together.'" This reminder is profound. If we already know the world is imperfect, we won't be shocked, we won't be consumed by anger. Instead of reacting blindly, we can choose to act with reason and with virtue. Epictetus, another Stoic sage, once told a story. A student complained to him, "Master, whenever I go outside, I meet rude people. People insult me. I get angry, I cannot endure it." Epictetus smiled and replied, "Do you ever go to the marketplace expecting it to be as quiet as a library? If your expectation is wrong, the fault is not in the marketplace, it is in you." Each morning, prepare your mind to meet rudeness and injustice. That is life's nature. Your task is to make sure you do not become like them. Seneca gave the same lesson. A soldier does not marvel at the sight of blood in battle. A sailor is not surprised by storms at sea, for they have prepared themselves beforehand. Yet many people walk through life expecting everything to go smoothly. And it is this false hope that makes them suffer. Even Marcus Aurelius, during the long years of war, kept this morning practice. Before putting on his armor, he would sit in silence for a few moments. He would remind himself, "Today there will be betrayal, danger, and chaos." Yet he did not tremble. He saw them as part of the natural order of life. And he prepared his spirit to act with justice, kindness, and courage. Socrates, too, inspired the Stoics with his calm mornings. Walking through Athens, he faced insults, mockery, and abuse. When asked why he was never angry, he answered, "If a dog barks at me, do I grow angry with it?" People act according to their nature. To be angry with them only makes me become like them. And Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, began his journey with misfortune. He was once a wealthy merchant until his ship sank. All his fortune was gone. Most men would despair. But Zeno said calmly, "Fortune has brought me to shipwreck, but also to a new life in philosophy." From then on, he prepared his mind every morning for loss, knowing that wealth, fame, or power could vanish in an instant. That strength allowed him to rise from disaster and found Stoicism itself. So how can we practice this each morning? It is simple. Spend 1 minute before leaving your bed. Remind yourself, "Today I will face challenges, but I can choose my response. I choose patience." Choose calm. Then, set one intention for the day. "I will not let anger control me," or "I will act kindly even when others are not kind." Finally, take a few deep breaths. Step into the day with a mind already prepared. Do not let the world dictate your mood. You are the one who leads your soul. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Seneca reminded, "Focus only on what is within your control. That is the only path to peace of mind." And Marcus Aurelius affirmed, "An insult has no power unless you allow it to live in your mind." The morning is the most decisive moment. If you master your morning, you will master your day. And if you master each day, you will master your life. So starting tomorrow, give yourself just 1 minute. Prepare your mind like a Stoic, and you will walk into the world not carried away by events, but as the true leader of your own soul. At the end of the day, when the noise fades and the world slows down, there's a quiet moment waiting for us. Most people rush into sleep with tired bodies and restless minds. They collapse into bed with no thought of what the day has been, or of what it could have taught them. But the Stoics, they ended their day differently. For them, the evening was not an afterthought, it was a sacred time for reflection. Seneca once wrote, "When the light has been taken from my sight, and my wife has fallen silent, aware of this habit of mine, I examine my entire day and measure what I have done and said. I hide nothing from myself, I pass nothing over." Each night, Seneca would review his day like a judge examining a case. He asked, "Where have I acted with wisdom? Where did I fall short? Did I allow anger, fear, or desire to control me? Or did I live according to reason and virtue?" Marcus Aurelius practiced the same. In his meditations, he left us pages that read like private evening reflections. He would ask himself, "What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What lesson can I carry into tomorrow?" And Epictetus told his students, "Do not go to sleep until you have reviewed your actions of the day. Where did I go wrong? What did I do? What duty did I leave undone? Start from the beginning and go through to the end. Then, reproach yourself for the wrong deeds, rejoice in the good." Reflection was not about self-punishment. It was about clarity, about facing the truth without excuses. There's a story of Socrates who, though not a Stoic, greatly influenced them. He was known to say, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Each evening, he would converse with himself, reviewing his words and deeds. Not out of guilt, but out of love for the truth. For him, reflection was a form of self-care, a way of keeping the soul clean. Another story comes from Cato the Younger, admired by the Stoics. After fierce debates in the Senate, where he often stood alone against corruption, Cato would return home and reflect. Even when others mocked him, he examined not whether he was praised or scorned, but whether he had acted with integrity. His evening reflection was a shield, keeping his conscience clear. And Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught his students this exercise. As you close your eyes to sleep, think over what you have done. Where you found yourself mistaken, correct it. Where you found yourself right, rejoice. So how can we practice this today? At night, before you close your eyes, take just a few minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today? What did I do poorly? What will I do differently tomorrow? Write them down in a journal, or speak them quietly to yourself. Be honest, be compassionate, be consistent. This is not about perfection. It is about progress. Reflection turns every single day into a lesson, a building block of character. Seneca said, "He who has learned how to examine himself has learned how to live." Marcus Aurelius reminded, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculation about others. Instead, learn to be content if you can act justly, speak wisely, and think clearly." And Epictetus declared, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish by others." Evening reflection is where we make peace with such truths. So tonight, before you sleep, don't rush into forgetfulness. Close your eyes with awareness. Turn your day into a teacher. Because if you can master your evenings, you will wake each morning clearer, lighter, stronger. The morning sets the tone. The evening seals the lesson. Together, they shape a life of wisdom. There is a paradox in Stoicism. To live with gratitude and peace, the Stoics tell us, sometimes you must imagine losing what you love. At first, this sounds strange, even harsh. Why would anyone think of misfortune? Why would we picture the loss of our health, our wealth, or even the people dearest to us? Seneca gives the answer. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. By imagining what could go wrong, we are not calling tragedy into existence. We are preparing the mind. So when life tests us, we are not shattered, but steady. Epictetus once told his students, When you kiss your child or your wife, whisper to yourself, one day they will die. When you drink from a cup, remind yourself, it may soon be broken. To some, this sounds cruel. But Epictetus explained, if you expect only permanence, you will be broken by loss. If you accept impermanence, you can love more deeply without clinging. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. For Marcus, negative visualization was not morbid, it was liberating. If death could come at any moment, then every moment of life became precious. Every sunrise, every conversation, every breath became a gift. Seneca, who was exiled by the Emperor Claudius, knew the weight of loss. In his letters he wrote, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. During exile, stripped of wealth and status, Seneca practiced negative visualization. He told himself, all this can vanish. And if it does, I remain with myself, and that is enough. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, lost everything in a shipwreck. Instead of despairing, he said, fortune has guided me to philosophy. This was negative visualization brought to life. The shipwreck had already been imagined, so when it came, it did not destroy him, it transformed him. So how can we bring this into our own lives? Each day, take a moment to imagine. Close your eyes and picture, what if I lost my possessions? What if I fell ill? What if this were my last day with the people I love? Then open your eyes. Feel the gratitude that they are still here. This is not despair. This is appreciation. When we realize everything is fragile, we hold it more gently. Epictetus said, it is difficulties that show what men are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. And Seneca reminded, he who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. Negative visualization is not about fearing the future. It is about freeing the present. When you see that everything can vanish, you finally learn how to cherish what you have. So tonight, before you sleep, or tomorrow morning when you wake, take 1 minute. Imagine losing what you take for granted. Then open your eyes and live with gratitude, with clarity, and with love. There is a simple truth at the heart of Stoicism. And yet, it has the power to change everything about the way we live. Epictetus summed it up in a single line. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. This is the dichotomy of control, the foundation of Stoic practice. Think of all the stress, frustration, and suffering in your life. How much of it comes from fighting things you cannot control? The weather, traffic, the opinions of others, the twists of fortune. And how much peace could you gain if you focused only on what belongs to you? Your thoughts, your choices, your actions? Epictetus himself lived this truth. Born a slave, he endured cruelty from his master. One day, his master twisted his leg with force. Epictetus calmly said, if you keep twisting, you will break it. And when it broke, he simply added, did I not tell you? He knew he could not control another man's cruelty, but he could control his response. He chose calm over rage, dignity over despair. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the greatest empires in history. And yet he wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. As emperor, he faced wars, plagues, politics. But he knew the empire of his mind was his true kingdom. Seneca reminded his students, fortune falls heavily on those for whom she's unexpected. The man who is always expecting her blows easily withstands them. We cannot control fortune's gifts or her strikes, but we can control how we meet fortune, with fear or with courage. The Stoics also looked back to Socrates as their model. When condemned to death, he could not control the sentence, but he could control how he faced it. Calmly, he drank the cup of poison. teaching with his final breath that what matters is not life or death, but how you choose to live. So how do we practice this dichotomy of control in daily life? First, pause when faced with stress. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, act with reason. If no, release it. Second, keep a daily list. Write down one thing you cannot control and one thing you can. Let go of the first. Focus on the second. Third, remind yourself, your opinions, your desires, your choices. These are always yours. Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control. Marcus Aurelius echoed, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Seneca added, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. The dichotomy of control is more than a philosophy. It is a compass. It points us away from the chaos of the world and back to the calm within. So the next time life presses against you, remember, some things are up to us and some things are not. Master this truth, and you master your life. There is a strange practice in Stoicism. The Stoics would sometimes choose discomfort on purpose. Seneca advised, set aside a certain number of days, content with the scantiest of food and clothing, and say, is this what I feared? Why would a wealthy philosopher sleep on the floor or eat stale bread? Because he wanted to remind himself, comfort is not guaranteed. If you train to endure little, you will not tremble when much is taken away. Seneca, though wealthy, often lived simply. He ate coarse bread, wore rough clothes, slept without luxury. Not because he had to, but because he chose to. He wanted to prove, I can endure this. If fate strips me bare, I will not break. Musonius Rufus said, we should train ourselves for hardship. Luxury corrupts us. Training in hardship is like a soldier preparing for war. Epictetus, who lived as a slave, knew hardship well. He told his students, when you wear a cloak, remind yourself it may be torn. His life itself was training in discomfort, and he turned it into strength. So how can we try this today? Sleep one night without your usual comfort. Skip a meal and notice that hunger will not destroy you. Take a cold shower and realize the body is strong and the mind stronger. By doing this, you learn. What you fear is often smaller than you imagined. Seneca said, a man who is prepared for poverty lives in wealth. Because he has learned to be content with little. Voluntary discomfort is not about suffering, it is about freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from need. When you know you can endure, you are no longer a slave to comfort. The Stoics taught mindfulness long before the word became popular. They called it precocious attention to the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, confine yourself to the present. The task of the moment is enough. How much of life is wasted in regret for yesterday or anxiety for tomorrow? The Stoics warned us, absence from the present is absence from life. Each morning, Marcus reminded himself, you have been given this day. Do not waste it in distraction. Even as emperor, he rooted himself in the moment. Epictetus told his students, when walking, pay attention. When eating, pay attention. When speaking, pay attention. For him, philosophy was not abstract, it was awareness in ordinary life. Seneca warned, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Distraction, he said, is the true thief of life. So how do we practice Stoic mindfulness today? When eating, just eat. Taste, chew, be present. When listening, truly listen without planning your reply. When working, focus on one task, not 10. Catch your mind when it wanders. Gently return it to now. Marcus Aurelius said, give yourself fully to the task at hand, as if it were the last you were to do. Mindfulness is not a luxury, it is a necessity. because the only moment we ever truly have is this one.